Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, Hidden. Good morning, Tariq. And good morning, KB. Good morning to everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse, 11 a.m. Central European Time. As always, is it November the 14th today? The markets are in turmoil. People are panicking. There's tears in the streets. There's blood everywhere. And I am here to give you the two prices, or the two Bitcoin prices, should I say, that I think we could hit on the way down before we rally to the upside. Now, before we get into all of that, we're going to have a look at an awful lot today. This is not going to be a panic party. Okay, we're not here to panic. The party isn't over, and we're not going to $20,000. So you can stop your crying, and you can stop your complaining, and you can listen to an hour of why you should remain bullish on crypto. Game's not over. We're going to go through an awful lot of X-Files, a lot of very short tweets. One of them is a sponsored tweet, by the way, and that is from a project called Degen, which we'll cover off in a minute. But we're going to look at, wait for this, a $170,000 Bitcoin target for the end of this bull run. We're going to look at MXRP, a way to earn yield on your XRP. We're going to look at Mayhem Mode by Pump.Fun. We're going to look at the ADA card. We're going to look at Circle. We're going to look at the Grayscale IPO, and we're going to look at Setting Sun, which is about Justin Sun. So that's what we're going to cover today. And we're going to look at the markets. We're going to look at some prices as well. So it's a busy show, and it's a Friday, which normally we like to have a relaxing Friday. But unfortunately, I don't know who broke it. Tariq, KB, somebody broke it, and we fell below $100,000. And we have been saying $98,000 was on the cards, but we have come a lot lower than that. I think we've reached as far as 96,000. But one of my tweets is going to give you an indication of the two areas we could come to. And these, believe it or not, are not chart-related prices, okay? These are mathematical targets based on what Bitcoin does in a normal, healthy cycle. But we'll get to that in a minute. On the screen in front of you, there is a Wolfie's Quiz Night next Tuesday. And that will be on Binance, Square, and on YouTube. Now, the reason it's next Tuesday is I have an operation on Wednesday. Not a major operation, but an operation on Wednesday. So Wednesday night, I'm not going to be able to see. So therefore, we're going to do it on the Tuesday night. Now, this is a big one, okay? Because there's $100 in the prize pool. And what we did last time, which was last month, was I think it was about $70, $75 we gave away on YouTube. Maybe $70 we gave away on YouTube. And we gave the $30 maybe away also on Binance. And we paid people in USDT on Binance, and I think we paid people in Moon on YouTube. So we're going to have lots of prizes next Tuesday. We're going to have the Wheel of Fortune, and we're going to have the top 3 positions, and then 5 random winners from Binance. So I think in total is probably going to be about 13 winners on Friday, which sorry, not on Friday, next Tuesday, which is pretty impressive. Now, we're going to go, and you know, this shouldn't hurt you, okay? You shouldn't be feeling any pain when I show you these charts. And if you are, then fair enough, you're new to crypto, and that's to be accepted. Good morning, Alpha Doodle. I hope you are well. Now, the title of the show today is It's All Over. And that is based on the fact that, according to everybody that you listen to, it's all over. I was listening to, I think, 2 or 3 different streamers this morning. One was coping, and one was blaming it on an individual event. And then another one was basically scrambling around, looking at different charts and basically sighing for about 45 minutes in depression. Now, the issue is with each of them is there is no singular event that ever happens in the universe that is responsible for everything else. So if you look at Gary Stevenson, for example, taxing the wealthy to make wealth equality better is not going to fix the UK economy, for example. It's one thing that he has plucked out and ignores absolutely everything else, and I've made a video about this, by the way, 6 reasons why Gary Stevenson is wrong. The housing market, pensions, we can look at inflation, we can look at money supply, lots of things. And when you look at crypto and you see Bitcoin coming down to $96,000 and $97,000, what you tend to find is you have these absolute geniuses on the internet, okay, who sit there in sunglasses and hoodies and tell you the reason this has happened is because the OGs have sold. The reason this has happened is interest rates haven't come down. Or the reason this has happened is because the flux capacitor says that it's getting to 12 and therefore it needs to retrace to 8. Okay? And each one of them will give you a singular reason why we are where we are. And the short answer is there isn't. There is no singular reason why we are where we are. There are a multitude of reasons. The market cycle, the charts themselves will tell you roughly where we're going to come and where we're going to go to. The government lockdown, interest rates, the entire thing is responsible for where we are. So let's not cope over one individual thing and say that's the exact reason why we've come down. We can do that in other instances, of course. If Trump comes out and says we're going to slap 500% tariffs on China, that's going to shock the market. Yes, COVID shocks the market. This is not one of those instances. I wouldn't call this a black swan. I'd say the government lockdown was heading towards a black swan, and maybe it's had more of an impact on the economy than we know, and maybe production levels are down, manufacturing levels are down. We don't know because we don't have any statistics, and the markets are now pricing in the fact that everything is open again. So let's not put everything to blame at the feet of one individual thing. Now, Bitcoin is coming in at $97,000. Ethereum is coming in just below $3,200. XRP is at 228. Solana is at 141. BNB is still at $910. These are not earth-shatteringly terrible prices, in my opinion. Cardano is back at 51.5 cents. Again, we're not 100 times away from where we need to be. These are corrections to the downside, and I'm going to show you what my targets are for that in a minute, as I've just said on X. Now, 24-hour gainers. Zcash is back at 527, having run up to somewhere like $600. Monero is up. This privacy narrative that's running is going to run out of steam, and I want you to be very careful when you look at getting into any of these tokens at these prices. And that's all I'm going to say, because it's not financial advice. And again, I have to be very careful what I say, because simply put, we have to be very careful about what is talked about these days in certain places, because we are not allowed to say certain things. So we're not. But there's a lot of coins that have done incredibly well, but there's also, at the other end of the scale, a lot of coins that have been absolutely crushed. And again, and I'll keep saying this until I'm blue in the face, Jupiter, Aerodrome Finance, ASI, Hedera, Sui, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Pith, Chainlink, Ondo. Do you honestly think that Ondo is going to go to zero? Do you honestly think Chainlink is going to go to $2? Do you honestly think that, let's say Pith is another one, second largest oracle, I think, by market cap. Do you honestly think that's going to go to zero? No, they're not going to go to zero, because these are solid projects. And the reason I've picked those ones out in particular is they have revenue and profit generating elements to their business, which every business should have, of course. But they are the biggest losers of the last 24 hours. So if you're looking to buy the dip, which you should be doing over the next, maybe this lasts for another 2 or 3 weeks, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, then you want to be looking at the projects that make money, in my opinion. And those projects are the ones I've just mentioned. Aerodrome below $1 is a bargain. That was at $1.20, not $1.15 not that long ago. I don't hold any Aerodrome, by the way. I hold Jupiter. I hold ASI. I don't hold Hedera, but I think it's a good project. I hold a fraction of Sui that I bought when it launched. Was it 40 cents or something like that? $1.80 Sui, if we are going to go back up, is a very good price for Sui. But anyway, so your gainers and your losers, there are some great bargains to be had, but it doesn't mean we can't come lower because, and this is what I need to basically try and get across to you today, if Bitcoin comes down to the two targets that I'm going to give you now, everything below Bitcoin will fall in value by more than Bitcoin, because now Bitcoin dominance is just going to go up even more. And I haven't checked the Bitcoin dominance chart. We're not going to do that until Monday because I don't want to roll a load of charts into Friday. But Bitcoin falls 5%. Your favorite alts are going to fall 10 to 30%. So while I'm saying these are really good prices, it doesn't mean you can't get Pyth at 5 cents. It doesn't mean you're not going to be able to get Chainlink at $10. It doesn't mean you can't get Aerodrome at 60 cents. What it means is, in my opinion, they are coming to some very good prices. And again, let's get to this. Let's get to the juicy part. Let me tell you where I think we could come down to. And again, this is an area. This is not an exact price. Around these prices are where I think we can find some level of support. If this is the right one, here we go. So the Bitcoin short-term prices. Now, again, no charts have been hurt in the making of this tweet, okay? Especially for KB out there, who I know likes his charts and doesn't want them damaged or injured. I haven't hurt any charts in making this. We talk about the bull run dips, and the bull run dips are the prices or the price action of Bitcoin as it goes through a bull market. It has 6 to 7 dips, and those dips are normally 20 to 30% dips. If we are talking about a dip, and this is important, if we're talking about a dip, then these are the prices that it will hit on the way down to reach the bottoms of those dips. And they are 94,500, which I think we could bounce off. I'm pretty much 60% certain we could bounce off that. And 88,200. That is a full 30% retracement from 126,000. Now, it does not mean that we're going to go to those exact prices. Not financial advice. These are just calculations of 20, 25 and 30% down from the 126,000. So these are, if you want to call it anything, these are like placeholders in the sand. They are the targets that we can go to. Now, I never believed a 100% that we would hold 100,000. I was 80 to 90% sure we'd hold 100,000. But I have said 98,000. We've gone to 96.5, 97,000, wherever we are now. I'm pretty certain we're going to hit 94.5 if we continue to do what we're doing, because we are only, what are we, 2% away from that? So I think 94,500 is nailed on, and I think 88,000 is pretty nailed on as well. Now, what is interesting about the 88,000 price is, I'm not going to bring up the Bitcoin chart at the minute, is that coincides with the beginning of January, end of November 2024 prices for Bitcoin. That's kind of the area we were at. Now, the other thing which I haven't included in this show, I was watching Ben Cowan. He's another one I watch. So I watch a large spectrum of people to give me an idea of what other people are saying about the markets. And I talk a lot about psychological levels on here, don't I? I always talk about psychological levels for Ethereum, for Bitcoin, for Solana, $50, $100, $150 for Solana, $2, $3, $4, $5,000 for Ethereum. Bitcoin, we had 50, 75, 100, 125, and they are psychological levels, and they're not levels that are written in anything other than people will always buy something for 99p, but they'll struggle to buy it for £1. People will buy something for $999, but struggle to buy it for $1,000. It's just a psychological part of your it's part of your psyche. It's not like psychological part of your psyche. It's part of your psyche. And he put a video up a few days ago, which I don't really hold a lot of belief in this, but I'll tell you what he said. He basically looked at the price of Bitcoin at $1, $10, $1,000, $10,000, and $100,000. And he said at those particular prices, Bitcoin has always struggled to stay above those prices. But they do eventually. And he said that price of, say, $1,000, it requires people to accept it for it to become a price. And what he means by that is that people have to accept that $1,000 wasn't a lot of money for Bitcoin, or $10,000 wasn't a lot of money for Bitcoin. And we've shown you 100,000 and 125,000. Those levels have held in the case of 100,000 pretty much all year. But in the case of 125,000, we couldn't do it. 120,000, we couldn't do it. Now, again, I don't read a lot into that video, but I think it was an interesting observation because it does back up what I have been saying, which is there are psychological barriers for Bitcoin to break in the minds of people. And I just thought that was very interesting. And then the last thing to put on here is, it's always darkest before the dawn is one of my favorite expressions. We can continue to come down, but it does not mean that Bitcoin has finished. It does not mean that Bitcoin is dead. What it can mean in the next 6 to 12 months is some of the more speculative assets, some of the assets outside the top 50 or the top 100, they could be gone forever. You know, we've already seen layer 1s disappear, layer 2s disappear. We've already seen projects shutter, NFT projects. We can still see all of that. But that's why you need to be blue chip heavy in your portfolio. It's all well and good. Go and buy your degen coins, absolutely. But you should really be in Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana and XRP and Cardano and all of those coins that are in the top 5 or 6. They should make up the majority of your portfolio. Again, not financial advice. And then go and play. Go and play in the market and go and get yourself some degen coins. But now you will probably realize that those degen coins come down a lot faster than Bitcoin does. And yes, they will probably bounce a lot faster than Bitcoin bounces. But this is what pain feels like. And at the end of the day, by the way, this is not the worst bear market I've ever experienced. Or not bear market, it's not bear market. The worst correction that I've ever experienced. The worst correction, I think, for me, was when we wicked to $49,000 and chat capitulated. The chat that we have in front of us now, it capitulated. And a lot of people... there's a lot of people in chat saying that I'm out, I'm leaving crypto, I'm done. We had an Australian guy who every week was just aping into different coins. He was buying Aerodrome, and then next week he was buying Chainlink, and next week he was buying Pyth and all this kind of thing. And he was a great guy to have in chat. He was really funny, but he just couldn't handle the volatility. And on every roller coaster, you have dips, because that is where the exhilaration comes from. When you're on a roller coaster that's going up and up and up, that's the anticipation. But where's the excitement on a roller coaster? It's when you go hurtling towards the ground at 90 or 100 kilometers an hour, and then you hit some sides, and you hit some sides, and you hit some sides, and it puts you back out for a week, and it gives you neck ache. Your eyes are watering from the wind. This is what you're experiencing right now. I experience that every day of the week, by the way, because I'm over 50, so my back just constantly aches. I put my neck out yesterday turning the lamp off. Okay, that's what happens when you hit my age. But listen, this isn't the worst I've ever experienced, but this requires your conviction. And I'm not going to sit here and preach to you. That's not my job. I'm going to sit here and try and basically explain that you shouldn't be worried. If you don't hold Bitcoin and you don't hold Ethereum, then you are on the deepest roller coaster experience of your lives. Now, this is to kind of put things into context for you. If you don't look outside of crypto at what's going on in the outside world, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Did the stock market crash yesterday? Yes. So will crypto crash? Yes. And why did it all crash? Because America opened back up. And the America reopening of business, that kind of was priced in, and the market's just dumped into it. And that's just what happened. Everything's down. Nvidia probably lost more value than all of crypto, excluding Bitcoin, put together yesterday. Amazon was down. Tesla was down. Microsoft. And let me ask you this question. Is Nvidia worth 3% less today than it was yesterday? Is Tesla worth 3% less today than it was yesterday. According to the stock market it is, but according to you, in your head, is it now an opportunity to buy Nvidia? Is it now an opportunity to buy Tesla or Microsoft or Google or JPM? Is it an opportunity to buy them or some of the Bitcoin mining stocks that were down 15-25% yesterday? The stock market is not necessarily rational, and you should be able to trade off that, because when other people are fearful, you should be greedy, and taking everything into account is super important. That is why when you come on here, we don't just talk about charts, we don't just talk about crypto, we try and talk about everything, because everything is interconnected. As I said at the very start, why has Bitcoin crashed? Do you want me to sit here for 45 minutes and blame the OGs? Do you want me to sit here and blame Trump for 45 minutes? It's not going to get you anywhere. It doesn't matter why it's happened for a multitude of reasons, and now we have some targets to come down to that we should find some support. And listen, 69,000 was the previous all-time high. If we come down to 69,000, we've technically hit the bottom of the bear market. That's how close we are, okay? Now, it doesn't mean we can't go lower than 69,000, but what I mean is my kind of definition of a bear market is retracing to the previous all-time high for Bitcoin, which is the 2021 all-time high, which was what, 69,400. What did we do after we hit 69,400 in the previous bull market? In the bear market, we came down, whatever it was, 16 or 18,000. And guess what? That was the 2017 all-time high. So if we do, in the next 3 weeks, for whatever reason, come down to 69,400, then we've been living in a bear market since January. That's just the way it is. I mean, no matter what I say, I can't convince you otherwise. Facts are facts. If we hit 69, 68, 67,000, that is technically hitting the previous all-time high, and therefore, this is a bear market. This does not feel like a bear market. I have been through them, and they kick you. And every time you stand up, you just get wellied in the face. Okay? You have a bloody nose, you've got black eyes, you're missing some teeth. It's like Fight Club, but it's you punching yourself in the mirror. I don't feel like that at all. Nothing about this feels like a bear market. And I know that's hard to convince you guys, but I've been in the 2017 all-time high, 2021 all-time high, and the bear markets that followed, you felt like you felt like it was over. Crypto's finished. That was it. Okay? I can show you any chart of any tech stock over the last 8 years, and I can show you where that has come down. Tesla is probably the latest big example of that. Tesla has been wrecked 50 times and then ripped 51 times. So this doesn't feel like a bear market. And maybe that's because it's a new bear market. Who knows? But I'm just telling you where we are. 88 and 94 or 95, something like that. Now then, in January 2025, the central bank president, Christine Lagarde, said, and I'm not going to do her accent, I'm confident Bitcoins will not enter the reserves of any European central banks. Today, the Czech Republic Central Bank buys $1 million worth of Bitcoin for its reserves. This woman and the other lady, I've got to be very careful these days. You know how hard it is to speak quickly and self-censor? It's very difficult. There are two ladies in charge of various European institutions who I absolutely detest. And they are in charge of the European Union and the European Central Bank. And neither of them should be in those positions. Now then, $15 billion Bitwise director shows a 5% capital rotation from gold to Bitcoin. Could send Bitcoin to 242,000. Bullish. Again, people can say things. I put a tweet out yesterday and I copied it into the Telegram group. And I've deleted it because I'm going to repost it again today. And it's basically a big long list of all of Robert Kiyosaki's price predictions for Bitcoin. He's been wrong. He's been so wrong that the closest he got was 40%, which was some time ago. He's been wrong by 80 to 90% in some guesses. And these people, I have to be balanced. We're not going to zero. We're not going to $400,000 either, or $300,000, or $242,000 in the near future. You need to be balanced, and you need to look at the cycle, the money flows, the adoption, the speed of adoption. All of these things take time. We have rushed for 14 years to get to where we are now, and we're panicking. Adoption, interoperability, and regulation, AIR. Adoption is happening right now. Interoperability is happening right now. Regulation is going through the American courts. Once it's gone through the American courts, why is that so important? Not American courts, American Congress. Why is there so much emphasis on that? Because once America writes the laws, 50% of countries around the world will just copy it. And they'll say, right, that's good enough for America, we're going to copy it and do the same thing. So America will set the standard for the regulation on stable coins and everything else. The UK are trying to do it in their own particular quirky little way. And that's regulation. So all three things are happening. Don't be bearish. Don't be bearish. Why be bearish? Again, don't listen to ridiculous price targets. But on the other hand, don't be so bearish. It's not a time to be bearish. It could be so easy for me to sit here and tell you that we're going to go down. It's so easy to be bearish because 80 to 85% of the time in crypto, prices go down because the price movements up are so violent and so quick that it takes time to come down. Bitcoin can move 50% from today in 3 to 4 weeks. We could sit at $150,000 by Christmas Day. And that's what Bitcoin will do. And then it could spend 3 months coming down to 125,000. So it's easy to be bearish. It's the easiest thing in the world to be bearish. It's the easiest thing in the world to be Peter Schiff talking about when Bitcoin goes down. But you know what? The bears, you don't hear from them when the price goes up. You only hear from them when the price comes down. And they're going to be right 80% of the time. But they're not going to be right on the price targets. They're just going to be right that the price is coming down. Now then, Cash App, which I know nothing about, with 57 million monthly users, is to enable USDC payments in early 2026, and it's powered by Solana. This is one of the next big trends that I absolutely love, and that is that on and off ramping using USDC and USDT is going to cause such a sea change for everybody in crypto, and it's fantastic. I get paid in USDC, USDT. Most of the time, I don't really get paid in anything other than that. And guess what? To get it to my bank, I have to transfer it to an exchange. I then have to convert it into my local currency, or I have to convert it into a credit card app. And then that credit card that I use, I then have to bill that other card to get the money into another Cash App, and then I have to do a bank transfer to my bank. That entire thing only takes 10 minutes, but it's a right royal pain in the backside. USDC into a Cash App, or a whatever you want to call them, it's pretty much removing 2 or 3 steps from that 4 or 5 step process. And that is super important for me. Now then, this is the sponsored section of the show. And I want you all to pay close attention because this is valuable for me. Okay? Now, again, I ignore, I'd say 90% of the people that ask us to make content, I ignore. And I've got receipts for that. I've got loads and loads of receipts. But I don't need to prove myself to anybody, so I'm not going to show them you. But from time to time, I will find something that I actually think is a really good idea. And from time to time, I'll make a video about it. And this is one of them. And this is called Degen Token. Now, Degen Token started, I'm not going to read you all the blurb, it's not that interesting. But basically, they created a coin on Base. And that coin was called Degen. And they basically airdropped a percentage of it to people that were on Farcaster. And then they basically have been spending their time building an app. And that app is called the DGen Hub. Now, the reason I like this is because if you use it and you follow your content creators on there and you like and retweet and comment on their posts, you get paid in DGen. And then you've got a choice. You sell it and cash out and keep the money for yourself. Or you give it to me, your favorite streamer. You give me all the DGen coins. That's what you can do. And I will get paid a fair wage. Now, I read something else which was absolutely... I put it into the video that I made about them. 90% of content creators earn less than $1,000 a year. 90% of content creators earn less than $1,000 a year. And one of the reasons for that is certain platforms, which we're not going to name names, they will take 40, 30% of the revenue. Others take 70% of the revenue. Binance is an example. Binance used to take 30%, and now they take 0. So Binance stopped taking a percentage of the tips that we get sent, and now we get 100% of the tips, and we get tips, and it's great, it's lovely. And I'm not asking for tips on here, by the way. I'm just saying it as a fact. So I made a video about it because I can sleep well at night. The app doesn't cost you anything. It's on the App Store. I'm not uploading anything to it at the minute, but I will, and I will start to promote them. And yes, I got paid for making this, and I want to make that very, very clear because I want to be transparent with you. But if the app doesn't cost you anything and you can earn money from using the app, I have no problem in telling you about it. So anyway, go and check it out. If you don't like it, absolutely fine. If you do like it and there are other content creators on there that you want to support other than me, because I don't believe that for 1 minute you just watch me, then go and get the DGen app. And that's it. That's my pitch. And again, like I said, I've got loads of really interesting ones that I'd love to do. There is a soccer one, which I really like, but the guy refuses to talk to me on Telegram, and I refuse to talk to him on email because email is 1996 technology, and I refuse to talk to him on email. So if you're out there, if you catch this video and you want to know why I will not talk about your football game, it's because you won't talk to me on Telegram, and all you want to do is talk on email, which takes forever. Bitcoin eyes new all-time high as analysts set $170,000 target. Now again, I like to look at these a lot of the time and poo-poo them, but I don't poo-poo this one because my target is about 140 to 150,000, and I think that's a solid price target. I did say 136,000 by the end of October, by the way. That was my target, but things happen, and I own my predictions, by the way. I'm not going to sit here and not tell you what my targets were. That's the point. And if you go back to the start of this year, I actually did a review video of my price targets for 2024, and I think I got XRP, Cardano, Solana. I think I got 4 out of 5 pretty much spot on. So I'm not bad at predicting. It's just the timing isn't necessarily accurate. But 170,000, yes, we can talk about 170,000, and I don't feel that's too bad. One second, just keeping an eye on this. Right then, according to Market Watchers, Bitcoin ETFs posted a $520 million inflow on Tuesday, a sharp change to the inflow the day before. Now again, I've shown you this chart before of ETF inflows, and I think ETF inflows and watching that is going to become more important as time goes by. Number one. Number two, the rule of thumb is roughly for every 7 or 8 days of inflows, i.e. they're buying more Bitcoin, there are about 3 to 4 days of outflows. Now they only work Monday to Friday. So what I'm talking about here is roughly a 3-week cycle for ETFs. 10 or 11 days of inflows, 3 to 4 days of outflows. That's roughly the rule of thumb, and you can bring up any chart to see that if you want. Go and check it yourself, but that is pretty much the rule of thumb that I've been covering on here. Now, you'll see on Monday there was a slight tick up. It's now hit 520 million. So if they're buying all of the Bitcoin, who is selling? OGs, of course. The swing in flows is being watched closely because inflows into ETFs have in the past helped drive the big price climbs. Diminishing golden curves hint at lower peaks. Based on reports from CryptoCon, a model called Diminishing Golden Curves maps price bands using logarithmic regression. The model tracks Bitcoin moves above the golden curve growth. Yep. There we go. I've seen this 1,000 times, these types of things. Plan B's got one. Ben Cowan's got one. Basically, what this means is that as we go along this curve, the pumps to the highs and the drops to the lows, they shallow out. And again, something we've been talking about for ages on this channel, probably a year or two. This is the last great bull run, as I've called it many, many times. And the reason is that the further we move along this curve, the less volatile Bitcoin gets. Now, you might think that's quite sad. I think that's absolutely perfect because you want low volatility for the BlackRocks, the Vanguards, the Goldman Sachs, the Bitwisers, or whatever they're called. You want that so you can see companies invest treasury funds into Bitcoin. Why is a treasury fund going to invest in Bitcoin if the price moves 80% a month? They're not going to do it, are they? They want slow and consistent returns. And that's what you will get over time with Bitcoin. The supply increase is slowing down. Difficulty is increasing. Adoption is growing. The price is now getting to the point where it really isn't moving a great deal. You think it's moved a lot. Everybody's crying into their cornflakes at $97,000. We're not at $67,000, are we? You know, we look at all the things that have shook Bitcoin over the last 6 to 12 months. It's rebounded back. It's not how low it goes, it's how it reacts when it bounces. That's the key. And are we going to break back above 112,000? That's the question, because that's the kind of area I think we need to see us at. Now, the halving rhythm is still in play. Again, this is a big argument to be had between people who are pro-Bitcoin 4-year cycle and then people who think the 4-year cycle is dead. But either one of those is irrelevant when we go back to this curve. Because this curve is showing Bitcoin. Call that a 100% move. I can't guarantee it. Absolutely can't guarantee it. But I would bet my bottom dollar that XRP, Solana, Cardano, Ethereum, maybe not Ethereum actually, that's also quite high. But yeah, if Bitcoin goes to $200,000, yeah. Ethereum will do $7,500, so it'll do 150%. Solana could easily do a 3x, 4x from where we are now. Cardano could do a 5 or 6x. XRP probably won't do that high anymore, probably do another 2 or 3x, because the market caps are lower and the money flows from Bitcoin into the alts. The same way that when Bitcoin is trying to hold on to these prices, your alts are being drained because the liquidity flow is back into Bitcoin. But guess what? When Bitcoin goes to the prices that people want to sell at, they will sell their Bitcoin and they won't sell it for fiat. They'll sell it for Ethereum, Solana, XRP, maybe Cardano, maybe BNB, maybe Chainlink, maybe Hyperliquid, and the money flows down the same way that Bitcoin is like a sponge and it soaks up all of that liquidity to keep its price. Think of it as like a flight to safety, like gold. So when prices crash like this, Bitcoin sucks all the liquidity. But when Bitcoin is full and you squeeze it a little bit, all that liquidity flows back to your alts. And that's the way to look at it. So your alts are going to outperform Bitcoin when we find the final low. And guess what happens then? Bitcoin dominance breaks down, and that tells us that the alts are outperforming Bitcoin. So again, you can't look at one individual factor. It's a big entire pie of things, lots of ingredients. So do I think we're going to be looking at $170,000? I think this is fairly more likely than a lot of the other predictions that we have seen. The $250,000, $300,000 predictions that I just pulled out of thin air. Look at Tom. Tom's told us $60,000, $20,000, $15,000, $12,000 Ethereum. He's got nowhere near. He might as well fire his arrows straight up into the air and hope that the wind is blowing so they don't come back down and poke him in the eye. $60,000 when? $20,000 when? You know, we can have a blow off top, but I don't know if you've looked at the date. We're running out of time. And I put my money on $140,000 and a $7,000 Ethereum. I'd put my money on that today, and I would go nowhere near Tom's predictions, because that's all you're doing. You're gambling when you look at Tom's predictions. Now, we're going to move on. Actually, no, you know what? I've got the Bitcoin chart. Have a look at the Bitcoin chart. You know what? Hopefully, this time next week, I'm actually going to be able to see. And that will be such an achievement to be able to see what I'm looking at now. Right then. We have retraced all the way back to, by the way, and I know none of them are watching it because they're at Bitcoin Amsterdam. I just want to point something out. I might actually clip this bit. This red line here is when all of the people who know who they are decided to all meet up or go and head off to Bitcoin Amsterdam. And look at what happened to the price of Bitcoin when they all merged and they all met together. They caused a singularity, and they are the biggest reason why we have crashed, because they've all gone to Bitcoin Amsterdam. Anyway, I'll probably get rid of that now. So that's the reason. If we go back and look over here, this is one of the prices that I am looking at, which is the lowest one here, which is about 88,000. This line down here. This is the one I'm looking at, okay? This line down here, which is, I believe, I would say the last point of bouncing before I think we need to consider the fact that maybe this is the bear market, and maybe we've been in a bear market. Maybe this was the end of the bull run, and maybe this is the start of the bear market. Now, the 88,000, this is the level that we broke up into in November. Do you remember I said at the start of the show, we came into it in end of 2024, beginning of 2025. We found support, we broke below it, we couldn't get above it, and then we ripped back up to the next psychological level, which was 110,000. So 88,000 is a 30% correction from here, right? That to here is 30%. And if I want to draw, if I want my final battle, okay, my 300 Spartan final fight where the family flee to safety, and I'm at the city gates, and there's me and 3 mates and a couple of cigars and a couple of spears, that's my line, 88,000. That is where we hold the line. If we don't hold the line at 88,000, then that is the next target for me, somewhere down that neck of the woods, which is 68, 69,000. If we go to 68, 69,000, by my definition, we are in a bear market. And that is where we are. Bitcoin is always about finalities. It's always the most important interest rate cut of Bitcoin's life. It's always the most important CPI data that comes out. It's always the most important things. This is 88,000 is where I think we have to draw the line. And again, I am not saying that we come down to it. I'm saying we could find some kind of support, 95. Maybe we find support at 97. Maybe we absolutely tear to the upside today or tomorrow. Fine. I'm just giving you the kind of next 2 steps on the way down. If we want to get back up to anywhere, 110,500. Which is there. This line here, 110,500. That's where we've got to break for me to have some semblance of the fact that we are back in the swings of the bull run. If we don't, that's where we draw the line. That is where we have our final battle. That is the final boss. I think the degens, not the degens, the kids call it the final boss. The final boss is 88,000, thereabouts. 88, 89,000. That's the final boss for me. And again, it's just my opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. This is just my opinion. Okay? If we want to look at worst case scenarios, they are the worst case scenarios. But it does not mean we can't break back above 100,000. But if we do, it has to have strength, because we've seen a lot of wicks to the upside, and we've seen a lot of failed pumps. And we can blame a lot of things for that. But at the end of the day, if we're going to go up, we need to see some strength. Otherwise, we're going to be cooking KK on our Telegram group. And that is not going to be fun. Right then, let me just check chat where we are. KB has said, very possible. We were talking about this in the group a while back. I believe now is the best time to buy the dip, says the GOAT. I'm Indian, next to that Australian who's going to capitulate if AVAX goes to $1. Don't think it's going to go to $1. Manjeet, good morning to you, sir. I hope you are well. I wish adverts wouldn't load over my chat. So far, it's not that bad, I can assure you all. It isn't. This does not feel like a bear market at all. Again, I'm very calm. If this was a bear market, I'd be sitting here thinking, I've got all these targets for all of these coins and we're not going to go anywhere near them. And I'd be worried. And I'm not worried. So either I'm delusional, which by all means feel free to think, or this is simply not the end of the bull run. Bad morning, worse morning. It used to crash 20% or more at a time. Absolutely. I mean, the God candles on Bitcoin and other coins, and then the kind of like the death spirals, they used to be absolutely massive. I remember once I went for a walk back in 2021. I think Bitcoin moved about $5,000 or $6,000 in the time I went for that walk. It was about a 45-minute, 1-hour walk, and it moved. I think it moved about $4,000 or $5,000. 4 or 5 years ago, mind, but that at the time would have been what, a 10%, 15% move in the price. It does do that. 5% is really not bad, not even 7%. It isn't. Again, 30% corrections, the downside is 88,000. And if we're going to have 6 to 7, 20 to 30% corrections in the market, then expect a 30% correction in the market. I didn't think we'd be having it in the middle of November, by the way. I thought we'd be having them in August, September, middle of October. That's when I was expecting to have these corrections. But if this is the last final correction, I'll be more than happy. Right, that has caught up on that chat. I don't have Binance Square chat open, so I should probably carry on. But if you do have a comment, leave the comment in chat and I will I'll read it out. Right then, MXRP is a yield-bearing tokenized XRP product expanding to the BNB chain via Lister DAO. Now again, I am all about yield-bearing coins. I talk a lot about yield-bearing Bitcoin, and it's still in its infancy, but for me, it's going to be the next big thing. I know everybody talks about AI. Fine, we know about AI. But for me, the big one is a yield-bearing Bitcoin product that is safe and secure and pays a sustainable yield. Sustainable yield. You might think, why on earth would I earn a yield on Bitcoin? How can that happen? You can earn a yield on gold. Peter Schiff's gold investment company, they pay dividends every year. How do they pay dividends if gold is gold? Because they can create structured products around non-yield bearing assets, gold, Bitcoin, commodities, things like that. So XRP is another coin, by the way, that doesn't actually generate a yield. It's not proof of stake, it's not proof of work, it's a very centralized corporate token. So creating tokenized versions of these products to allow them to be listed on other chains and allow a yield to be generated, for me, is a really positive step for XRP. We've talked a lot about synthetic Solana tokens. Obviously, everybody knows about synthetic Ethereum tokens. Probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I wasn't a massive fan of them because there is huge depeg risks, all that kind of stuff. But with Sanctum, or I think they're called Sanctum, over on Solana, they manage about 95% of all of the synthetic Solana tokens, for example. Marinade, Sol, what else is there? Blaze. I think BSol they've got through Sanctum, and they have depegged in the past, but then they've also repegged because there is real Solana backing up those projects. So my fear of synthetic Solana and Ethereum has now subsided, and I would stick to the main ones. But I can't say the same thing about MXRP at the minute because it's new, so we've got to obviously treat these things with a little bit of caution. So MXRP is a yield-bearing tokenized XRP product issued by Midas. It's expanding to the BNB chain via Lister DAO. The expansion gives XRP holders across access to BNB chain, DeFi, allowing them to earn additional yield on top of XRP's base strategy returns. Now, there are multiple ways you can earn a yield. You can earn a yield by dual earning. So what you could do is maybe get paid 1% in MXRP, and then you might get paid 5% in Lister DAO tokens. That's another way that they can generate a yield. You can earn a yield in multiple different ways. You can stick it into an LP pool, for example. You could do, for example, USDT and MXRP, but then you've got impairment loss issues. You could find two similar tokens, so an MXRP and a TXRP, for example. It'll only pay you 2 or 3%, but it's 2 or 3% more than you're getting with just XRP. So again, I don't want to talk too much about this because it's brand new. I don't know enough about it. But again, I would think that you can certainly go and unlock some of your liquidity in XRP. And I can't talk too much about it for another reason, and that is that XRP is one of those targeted products on a certain platform that I stream on. And if I talk too much about it, I might get a strike, which we don't want. So I can't cover it in too much depth, unfortunately. Good morning, Solo Sky. I hope you are well. I hope you're doing okay. Right. One more effort to revive struggling Solana. Trenches Pump.fun unleashes mayhem mode. I mean, isn't Pump.fun just mayhem mode? I've seen people on there with horses' heads on, dancing on tables. I've seen people feeding the hungry through Pump.fun. There's a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, is mayhem mode just pouring petrol on the fire? Is that what it is? Because it's already on fire. It's already chaos. What do you do? Just throw a stink bomb in the room? Things I've got to talk about on here. Things I have to do. Viral Solana meme coin launches launchpad Pump.fun has launched Mayhem Mode, an experimental feature that introduces an autonomous AI trading agent into the early trading phase of new tokens. The feature, active for the first 24 hours after a coin's creation, aims to inject volatility and volume. We really need volatility in brand new tokens, don't we? To help projects gain traction in their crucial first few hours. Now, we kind of know why this is happening, because a month or two ago we did that report, or we covered that report that said there was, like, I don't know what it was, 60,000 or 200,000 tokens have been created on Solana's Pump.fun in the last 6 months, and only 12 or 15 or 20 of them actually got above a certain market cap. One of them, of course, was Compute 3 AI that we've covered in an interview on In the Trenches, which I'm going to talk about at the end. And I don't think we need volatility. This is the worst thing. I can't imagine. This isn't even gambling. This is worse than gambling. And again, I can't say that word too many times either. I would not go near this if you gave me all of KB's money and told me to lose it on here. I wouldn't go near it. I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. You have to act responsibly. If you're watching on Binance Square, the tokens listed on Binance Square as a whole, especially the newer tokens and the more sensible tokens, they're the ones you should be looking at. If you want to play with meme coins, you should do it through Binance Alpha. That's just my personal opinion. I think going off exchange, loading up a Phantom wallet, for example, and going here and doing this is just... no, we want to get rid of this. Adoption, interoperability, and regulation. We might replace regulation with responsibility, because this is irresponsible. This is worse than gambling, in my opinion. Mayhem Mode is designed to make early stage coins more dynamic and visible. According to the documentation, projects that activate Mayhem Mode will see their total token supply double from 1 to 2 billion. The extra billion tokens go to the AI agent, which trades the coin throughout the first 24 hours. This is just utter waste of time. Please don't go anywhere near this. Not financial advice, but please don't go anywhere near this. Keep acting responsible. Keep your money safe. Yes, the markets are red, but there is red and there is redder, and I'd rather you be red than redder. Can Cardano's new ADA card and network spike fuel the next big move? Every time we cover Cardano going to the downside, less people, less projects, no stable coins, whatever it might be, there comes along new releases, new products, new whatever it might be. And I don't know whether you've noticed this, but every time we talk about Cardano being finished, 2 or 3 weeks later, we have a report out saying that Wales have bought another 300 million ADA tokens, or 500 million ADA tokens. Now, I am not saying that these magazines and articles, publications and things like that, I'm not saying for 1 second that they are sponsored to up and downplay markets. What I'm saying is that it's funny how the narrative changes just before the price action. So the price action of ADA goes down. Nobody says anything. Then 300 million tokens are bought and an article is written telling you that the price has gone up. And then what do? You probably go and buy ADA. And then guess what happens? The price comes down. I don't know. Cause and effect, I don't know which way around you want to look at it. But can Cardano's new ADA card help? Absolutely. ADA needs utility. It needs hype. It needs people talking about it. It needs liquidity. And it needs to sort out whatever it's going to do with Bitcoin. It needs to sort it out. ADA never goes down. ADA has one of the best staking methodologies the world has ever seen. Probably the best staking system in the world. So much so, Ethereum are going to copy it, or copy a lot of the elements of it. How do I put this? It's peer-reviewed. Universities have studied the code and studied the platform, everything about it. It's the best of the best. But what it isn't good at, really, in my opinion, is its marketing. And I think you have so many jaded Cardano people talking about it. The only one who's really, really super, super bullish is DZ. Crypto Crow talks a lot about Cardano, but he covers the problems as well as the positives, and there's just not enough hype around it. But if you have a Cardano card, it's a bonus. If you have stable coins, it's a bonus. If you have people locking away the tokens, it's a bonus. So for me, I'm still fairly long on Cardano, but I will say this: if it goes anywhere near, I don't know, $2 or $3. I think my target is $3 to $5, but if it goes anywhere near $2 to $3 and we have a very stunted pump, then I will be selling my ADA for the bear market, of whatever that may happen to be, because I will again have made 10x on that coin. What more do you want in the bull run? Right then, JP Morgan analysts flip bullish on Circle, citing faster stablecoin growth. The analyst said Circle's third quarter results were solid. Again, we don't need to talk too much about this. How long do we have left, by the way? We've got 2 minutes left. Absolutely fantastic. Nothing like having a load of articles to cover at the end. Right. What I will say is this. Every stablecoin company in the world... every genius regulated or compliant stablecoin in the world is going to make money hand over fist over the next at least 4 years. So Circle and Tether, PayPal, XRP, all of those stable coins are going to make a fortune, because as money floods into crypto, so will stable coins. And of course, we know stable coins are backed by US treasuries, which are paying them 3 or 4%. When you're talking about 3 or 4% on $100 billion, you're talking about $3 to $4 billion a year profit. Well, not profit, revenue. Now, take out staff, take out offices, you might be left with $1.5 billion, $2 billion out of that every year. For doing what? Providing an asset-backed crypto asset. So whether it's Circle or whether it's Tether, whether it's PayPal or any of the ones I've mentioned, I wouldn't back against them. USD1, which is the one that's controlled by the Trump family, that's going to do incredibly well. Even at $1 billion, you're still making, what, $30 to $40 million a year off $1 billion? So you work that out. $10 billion stablecoin, you're making $300 million a year. It's good money. They're all going to make incredible money. So if you're looking for some stock picks and the stock market happens to come down over the next few weeks, maybe look at Circle, maybe look at Tether, maybe look at USD1 as probables. I think USD1 will probably get an IPO at some point. We're going to talk about an IPO in a minute. We're actually going to talk about the IPO now. So, asset manager Grayscale Investments files for the US IPO. Initial public offering, that is where they basically float on a stock exchange. You knew this was all going to everyone out there should have known this was going to happen as soon as Trump came in power. The only one who really went against the grain was Coinbase. And they kind of got in through the back door, and fair play to them. They came in through the back door. As soon as they were listed on the stock exchange, the SEC started to question them, which, again, the SEC kind of showed their cards when they started doing that. But Coinbase did. XRP put up a fight against the SEC as well. But as soon as Trump came in, you knew that it was going to be IPO season. Any company worth its salt is going to IPO in America in the next 3 years. And Grayscale is primed for that. Would I own shares in Grayscale? Yes, but there's a caveat. The company will have a value, so I take it down here. It's going to tell us what it's going to be valued at. Is it going to tell you what it's going to be valued at? Let's have a look. The SEC, I can't see the actual price it's going to be valued at. Well, anyway, what's going to happen is this will list at, say, $10, $20. This will go over $100, maybe $150 per share, and everyone will say, oh my God, we've made so much money, and then everyone's going to dump on you, and it's going to come back down to about $40. And that's exactly what's happened with every coin that's ever been listed, whether it be Coinbase, whether it be Circle. There is an initial rip to the upside. There's a lot of thunder outside. They will rip to the upside, and they will do incredibly well to begin with. If you don't get in on the IPO, you shouldn't be looking to buy any of these types of shares in the first few days. Not financial advice. And the reason is that they will wick and drop. So I, long term, think Grayscale will be a great investment. But in the initial maybe 6 months, I don't know whether you're going to have your hands burnt. Go and look at the Circle IPO and go and look at what happened there. Was it Circle or Tether that listed? I can't remember which now. Go and look at Coinbase as well. You'll see the same thing there, where it went up to about $400 or something like that, and then it came all the way back down. Just be careful. That's the only thing I'm here to do, is to try and help you to be careful. And then finally, I don't know if we've got enough time for this. What time is it? 12:03. We don't have time for this. This was about Justin Sun. Maybe we'll put it in tomorrow's show. Let's get rid of that now and go to full screen. Right then. Very quickly, let me just check. What else? Feeding the they are scammers. They launched those lives to fund their exactly right. Very quickly then. So this morning, breaking news. This morning, the Oracle did an interview with Kronos Army, which is a BNB chain project. It's got a token. I think the token is called CA, and it's got NFTs. I'm going to edit that video, splice it all together, and put that out over the weekend. That is something that is coming up soon. Tomorrow, we have a special live show. Now, I'm going to have to do this in real time, which means I'm probably going to cock it up. So if you give me a second, we've got another show tomorrow. So this on your screen now is next Tuesday, not next Wednesday. Now, the show we have coming up is this one. And that, if I make that bigger so you can see. There we go. Oh, wrong one. Right. That is Market Vision, which is, if I just drag there. Do you know what? I'm going to give up trying to move it. Right. You can see it well enough. That's Market Vision. And we did this a couple of months ago. Myself, the Oracle, and Yikes sit down and talk about all things crypto. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about whether meme coins are dead. We're going to talk about the Bitcoin cycle. Is it finished? Is it going to carry on? What effect has Trump had on the market? How is that going to look? And at the end of the show, the three of us are going to give you 3 coins that we think will survive this brutal correction. So that is tomorrow on Binance, Square, and the other place. And the three of us are going to have a good chat. I think it is about 4 o'clock. I think it's about 4 o'clock. But that'll be tomorrow. I'm going to do the interview, the In the Trenches interview. That's probably going to go out tomorrow. We also have the Oracle is doing shorts, or the Oracle is doing the live streams, which we're converting into shorts. So you're going to start to see a lot more shorts knocking around on Binance and on the other place as well. So make sure to tune in for that. Anyway, I better let you go because it's 12:05 and it's a Friday. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. You are all lovely human beings. The one thing you should not be doing right now is panicking. There is absolutely no need to panic. If we break 88,000 and we go to 69,000, it's going to come up eventually, okay? Don't worry. We've been through this for 2.5 years. You're on that train going to Edinburgh and you've just got to the outskirts and you think, you know what, I think I'm just going to jump off here in the middle of the forest with all the Christmas trees. I don't think I'll bother staying on the journey. Don't. Bitcoin is here to stay. And if you don't believe in crypto, if you don't believe in AI tokens or real world asset tokens or anything like that, buy Bitcoin. That's all you got to do. Buy and hold that Bitcoin. Not financial advice. Anyway, see you all tomorrow, those of you that turn up. If I don't, I'll see you on Monday. Have a great Saturday and Sunday. And I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.